we'd have to make absolutely certain that we can pay. Okay, deck. Okay. Yeah, so now we just get to Squadron Titan. That's pretty cool. Alright, guys. This is the last match, the one for all the marbles. Are we gonna go 3-2 and get our league value back? Or are we gonna end up 2-3 and get a measly half league back in play points? I don't know if you care. I care a little bit, but that's only because if I can go infinite, quote unquote, then that helps me support you, give you more content at little to no cost to myself. Like I said, I already get enough fun out of these games just by recording them, being able to produce some content, some information, and even just being able to play through the games on my own. That is good enough for me, but hopefully we can manage to get this 3-2, and if not, there's no point in crying about it, so let's just jump straight into this match here and see how we can conclude this particular league. Completely polarized here. 0-2, 0-2, 2-0, 2-0. No in-betweens. Interesting stuff. And I don't think we've actually used the Karn to win a single game yet, which is interesting. Don't know if that's just variance or what. I'll talk a bit more about my experience with Karn lists and what I think about this particular list at the end of this video, so if that's something you're interested in, then stick through to the very end where I will have some thoughts. Alright, let's hop on in here. On the draw. You know what? We'll just have to accept it. We are one land away from Titan mana. We get a turn 1 Grazer. Hopefully our opponent's on something red and aggressive. But yeah, we'll give this a shot. There's a Bloodstained Mire and a pass. Don't really know what to make of that. I don't know what would play Bloodstained Mire and just pass. My first thought is maybe our opponent's playing Dredge and they want to haggle on our instep. No matter the case, I'm just going to fetch up a basic forest here and slam this Grazer into play. Boom. 0-3 reach. Into play. And we'll put in the Valcut, I suppose, just to get a tap land out of the way. We can cast a turn 3 3-drop off of our breeding pool if we want to anyway, so there's no reason to get rid of our bounce land here. If we top deck a amulet to go along with this bounce land, then we'll be very happy that we kept it in hand. We have natural Bajuka Bog against Dredge, if that is what we're playing against. We played against Thrilling Dredge earlier, and we see effect for Stomping Ground. But no spell. Interesting. Just a slow Ponza hand, maybe? I don't know. I don't think Niv plays Bloodstained Mire. Sacred Foundry. Thrilling Discovery. It is Dredge. Okay. So we happened to get pretty lucky last time we played against Dredge, as we just had turn 3 Titan in both games and killed our opponent with Valcut and the Molten Pinnacle. This one right here. Maybe we'll be lucky enough with our natural Bajuka Bog here to just destroy our opponent. Who knows? We get to exile all their dredgers. We can even explore here without, so we don't have to Summoner's Pact for a 3-drop. So if we were to shock, Pact for Azusa, play Bog, Sanctuary picking up basic forest and pay, then the turn after we could cast Explorer, and then the turn after that we could Titan. I suppose we could Pact for Dryad, play Dryad, then play Bog, tap out and play land, and then have Titan with Dryad triggers, and I think that's what I want to do. So that's what I'm going to go for. We have to take 2 damage from our breeding pool to do this, but it's probably correct. We're not casting Titan this upcoming turn anyway, so let's pay the 2 life here. Get our 3 mana 2-4 into play here. Of course, we're going to Bog our opponent immediately. Natty Bog coming in to do some wrecking. Very good for us to have naturally drawn this Bog. A little luck against Dredge goes a long way. That I will say. If our opponent has another Discovery or Cathartic here, then they'll need Dredgers in hand to make it work. At least one Dredger. Our opponent just scoops the game. Sounds about right. Sounds about right. Okay, so against Dredge, we want Baloth, I suppose. Actually, I don't even know if we want to sideboard anything against Dredge. Like, we could bring in Rexage and Forces. As we saw in the last match, we looked at an example list with the new Thrilling Discovery addition to Dredge. And usually, because of the White Splash, they don't play anything like Blood Moon or Mages of the Moon in the sideboard. So, like, It could have been defensible, maybe to bring in Dismembers or Forces or something, but, like, honestly, I think we just don't want any of this. Like, even maybe an Explosives could be good, but I'm just gonna run it back. Like, it's not often that you have a deck where you just submit the main 60 for games 2 and 3, but I think it's perfectly defensible here. We definitely want Karns over any of our Karn targets, as our Karn lets us get Tormod's Crypt for the 0-mana graveyard interaction. We have a double Amulet hand with the Bounce Land and Explorer ready to go. So if we find a Primeval Titan, this lets us put Titan into play, double haste, and then attack with double strike on turn 2. So, yeah, we're gonna keep that. Well, remember what I was saying about a little luck versus Dredge? Like, if our opponent has the turn 2 Cathartic every time, I'm just gonna be slamming a turn 2 Titan. Like, no big deal. What's the big deal? Beating Dredge is just so easy, dude. Look at the Summoner's Pact and everything. Holy... This is just deserved, right? Now we're going to lose the game. Now our opponent's going to have Ancient Grudge for this upcoming turn, and we're going to be a little slower. And by a little slower, I mean a lot slower. Alright, opponent, just do something irrelevant. Do something completely irrelevant. Our opponent has... Okay, I thought this was Conflagrate, but it's Cathartic Reunion, so... Yeah, I mean, we just have the turn 2 kill here, so... The opponent has no clue what's coming. Thrilling Discovery, that's fine. I mean, they can get a board state into play. They're already putting 4 damage worths of blockers into play. I wonder if we can get enough Valcut triggers to kill them with Valcut instead, or just wipe their board. I don't know. Creeping Chills hit the yard, so our opponent's going back to 20. We could kill them from exactly 20, but they will have blockers in play, so... Strange. And lots of Amalgam triggers. Do they have 3 prize Amalgams in here? Wow. Well, actually, they do have quite an impressive board state. If we went for the Pact for Titan thing, we'd have to make absolutely certain that we can pay. Okay, deck. Okay. Yeah, so now we just get to Squadron Titan. That's pretty cool. That's a 5 to make sure we have no yields. Yep, well... A lot of luck against Dredge goes an even farther way than a little bit of luck. That I will say. And let's just pick up the Forest here. Interesting that we have Vesuva in hand. I don't think we need Vesuva, necessarily. That's good. Let's play an Amulet, using a blue. We'll play an Explore, leaving a green. We'll Vesuva, copying our Growth Chamber. You know, just do all the things. We do not want to cast this extra Explorer, actually, because we might accidentally hit our Boros Garrison off the top of the deck, and that would not be great. So let's just avoid that. Don't need to do anything extra here. We'll just do the thing where we kill our opponent. Yep. Let's get the Tolari West and another Growth Chamber. So the way this works is Titan gets these 2 lands that I've just put into play now, and together the 2 of them produce a total of 9 mana, and using 3 of that mana, leaving 6 floating, that lets us transmute our Tolari West for a Summoner's Pact, and then we can use that Summoner's Pact to find another Primeval Titan and put that into play, and then at the end of the day, we're just going to be chaining 3 Titans into play using these Summoner's Pacts until the last Titan, the 3rd Titan, searches for Boros Garrison and Slayer Stronghold, and we get to haste and attack with all of them. So, yeah, that's the plan. And this is our last Tolari West, so even if we wanted to get a 4th Titan into play, we actually literally can't do it. But that's fine, because we don't need a 4th Titan, so... Yep, our opponent says in the chat, Blind Bog in Game 1 into Triple Amulet Game 2. RNG through the roof. They are... Not even... I wouldn't even say they're salty here. That's just absolutely accurate. Well, we managed to go 3-2 with the help of a bit of luck and good pairings, of course. I do think that Dredge is still a good matchup. It's a little more intense now that you have to make sure you're beating your opponent's Thrilling Discovery on turn 2 or Cathartic on turn 2 with extreme consistency. But, as I did promise before, I will speak some about the deck list. As far as the actual list itself, I think it's fine. Even in these Karn shells, I'm starting to wonder whether or not it's better to just have Sakura Tribe Scout. Like, The idea of being able to block with Grazer or use Grazer to put Karn into play on turn 2 more easily, like turn 1 Amulet, turn 2 Bounce Land, Grazer, Bounce Land again, Karn. Like, I recognize that that exists, but in the blind, Grazer is, in my opinion, right now a lot worse than Scout, even if your opponent could be playing something like Gut Shot or Lava Dart or whatever. Like, those cards do exist, but that actually brings me to the next point, which is oftentimes when I'm playing a Karn list, I feel like the vast majority of my wins are just due to the normal Amulet, Primeval Titan, Dryad stuff. And a lot of times Karn isn't even a factor, and maybe it's just my playstyle or my draws, or I don't know what it is, but I oftentimes feel like the Karn lists are just an Amulet list that happens to be playing Karn the Great Creator. Sometimes it's better against Control, sometimes it's not, because here we're playing 3 Karns and 0 copies of Tireless Tracker in the sideboard, whereas against Control, I've won several games by just having access to Tireless Tracker and being like, okay, I'm going to put a Tireless Tracker into play and just win off of the back of that Tireless Tracker, and that has won me, I would say, even more games than trying to play a Karn, because sometimes your Karn gets forced and then your Titan gets countered and you've got nothing, whereas sometimes you can just slam a Tracker on turn 2 or turn 3, depending on whether you have the 1-drop or ramp spell, and like just go from there, and sets you up really well for the late game. I don't know, Control is just going to be a hard matchup regardless. My personal opinion is that Karn is actually not that great. I know that a lot of people have been having a lot of success with Karn recently, and that could be colored by the fact that I just don't necessarily personally prefer to play with Karn. I really like the original play patterns of the deck. I would like having access to a second Azusa. I would like to be able to play 4 Tribe Scouts instead of Grazers, but Grazer in this case is usually better for casting Karn on turn 2 or whatever, right? But, I mean, like I said, most of the time I just win with the normal Amulet stuff. The Dryad plus Valakut triggers are just getting Titan into play and attacking. Like, I don't really see the Karns as being necessary. And even in the Blood Moon matchups where Karns are supposed to help, you board out all the Karns and board in explosives and like Goloses and stuff without actually having access to Karn in games 2 and 3 anyways, because it just dies to your opponent's aggressive 1-drops. So like, why would you play Karn for your Blood Moon matchup if you're just gonna side it out in your Blood Moon matchup? Like, I don't know. The Karn stuff, it makes sense to me to some extent, but it also just doesn't really resonate with me, if that makes any sense. Let me know what your opinions are about Karn the Great Creator in the comments. Is that something that you resonate with? How do you feel about Karn? I'm extremely interested in knowing your opinions, especially since I feel like it's such a... It's kind of divisive. It's not as divisive as like the argument versus Arboreal Grazer or Sakura Tribe Scout or whatever. It's not like people are clamoring over whether Karn is better or not, but like, it's always one of those like question marks, like, should we be playing Karn? I don't know. Anyways, like I said, let me know your opinion, and I think I've talked way too much for a matchup where we just literally top deck triple Amulet against our opponent. Not something that happens that terribly often. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And I'm just going to leave the video right here. Let me know what you'd like to see in next week. I do appreciate suggestions from you guys. And yeah, I have nothing else to say. This is Red Face Menace, signing off.